All right, I'm excited to talk to everybody here about the transformation point for AI in retail. So why don't we start with the question, why now? I mean, aren't we all just going to become subscription-based consumers of either Amazon or some new startup that is yet to emerge yet? Well, we don't think so at Rubikloud. Since the very, very early days, we've always had a few principles about where we saw retail going. The first one was, as retail transforms, there's not going to be one single winner. There's going to be multiple winners in each vertical, in each geography. Secondly, the whole concept of the store was going to evolve, not die. I think we've seen that play out. And third, all of this, and this might be a little bit controversial, but all of these new brands that are starting up, that are all venture-backed, private equity-backed, they're not sustainable. They won't be around very long because the cost of acquiring a customer online and the cost of building a brand is extremely expensive. And private equity and venture money eventually needs to exit and find liquidity, which is counterintuitive to how long it took to build the brands we know today, like Boots and Tesco and Marks & Spencer. Every single person in the UK knows these brands. So those three principles and kind of directions for where we saw retail were always there. So if we bring this back to this whole kind of Amazon dominance topic for a second, where does that actually leave us? Well, if we took Whole Foods and we included it in the best case scenario, Amazon is between $110 and $140 billion retail revenue business in the markets that are listed here. That's 2% of the retail market in terms of actual spending. So it's not the world of retail versus Amazon, it's the world of retail versus consumer expectations. And this is what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. So over the last 5.5, 6 years, we've had the privilege of working with some of the largest retailers in the world. And before I go into AI for retail, I'm going to talk a little bit about current state. These are the 5 things that we have learned retailers are wrestling with. So the first one is a volatile capital market. So retailers, publicly traded retailers, are one of the top areas for algorithmic trading. So if your earnings miss, your stock takes a nosedive. Your earnings actually do well, you stay flat. Does that sound familiar for people in the room who are retailers? So it's not a very kind of simple industry right now in that sense. The second one is the capital costs, the razor-thin margins make it very hard to invest into the future. The third is retailers from the front of the store staff to the corporate head office are all trying to upskill their workers. How do you train, retain, and motivate employees on new technologies when you're constantly trying to keep up with everything as a business? Fourth, retailers have been caught in this kind of vicious, antiquated technology cycle. Everything from tens of millions of dollars up front to invest in technologies, years of custom development, only to get a product that they probably didn't actually want to begin with. And finally, there's still the day-to-day business of running a retailer. Thousands of suppliers, deciding whether you build private label versus work with a supplier. So these are the day-to-day problems that if you're a retailer today, you have to try to manage. But guess what? Your customers don't care about your problems. What's in it for them? The current customer world, the consumer world, doesn't care about these retail problems. They're focused on 3, 4, 5 other big topics that are constantly focused, constantly kind of going through their world. So I'm going to take you through a few of these right now, and I'm going to give you an overview of how AI can make an impact there. So the first one is loyalty. I always say that if you have a brand and you have a way to communicate with your customers, you have a loyalty program, even if you don't have a membership card. So what is loyalty? Let's take a look at that actual agreement between the consumer and the retailer and loyalty. You've given the retailer your permission to have your data, all of your history. In return, you're expecting some level of value, you're expecting some level of relevancy, some level of learning about you. And if you look at the players involved in loyalty today, you've got all of these marketing offers, the endless amount of content, all of the different things that a retailer can do to promote to you. You have all these different channels. If you think about just yourself, you've got your email, you've got your app, you've got the in-store experience, you've got the mobile kind of checkout experience, you've got the e-commerce platform, and then you have all these different technologies. They're not working right now. It's all in silo. When's the last time you got a loyalty offer that actually was relevant, that actually made a whole lot of sense for you? Amazon and Starbucks are obviously leading this charge right now with relevancy and with an experience that people actually like. So what you need is actually not a rules-based old school system. You need an actual AI system underneath the covers that is trying to anticipate the consumer need, that's trying to anticipate the direction of where your purchasing patterns are going to go, how you're going to evolve with that brand, and actually automatically feed the marketing, the content, all those things directly into those channels I talked about. Imagine a Netflix-like system without AI right now. It would just be feeding you the same movies over and over again on the same rules based on what you saw that very first time you logged in. That's basically how loyalty is run today. The second thing is this whole concept of omnichannel. We've been trying to define it for a very long time, and I don't think it exists as a definition because it keeps changing. So here's a few potential definitions. There's buying online and picking up in the store when you actually drive up to the store. You can't wait, though, because then it's just going to be way too inconvenient. There's buying online and delivering it from the store to your home. There's buying online, picking up in the store, and then buying other things while you're physically in the store and checking out as a single transaction. There is Ocado's done a great job. You can buy literally from anywhere and then ship it to anywhere. And then there's the whole concept of certain heavier items you're buying from the store and fulfilling it, from a different store. So you've got a lot of these different permutations, right? And it's kind of pretty much impossible to keep up with all this. But let's take a look at how fulfillment is done today at retailer, how inventory management, how pricing, how promotions, how the whole supply chain works. The current state is a big retailer can maybe forecast an entire category. Let's take health products or something like that for men or for women at the city level. And now the store has become both the distribution center, the retail store, the fulfillment center. The permutations of overstock, understock, inventory turn problems have just suddenly become exponential. So how do you actually solve for that problem? Well, it's not a human grade problem. It's an AI-based problem that you can actually solve for. The challenging part for a retailer right now is if you don't solve this problem, you're going to miss earnings. Inventory turn and fulfillment is usually one of the biggest problems that causes you to miss your actual financial targets as a retailer. The third thing is, what is that store of the future? We keep hearing about it. We keep seeing it on different mediums. Well, in our view, the store of the future is a few things. Here's what the customer wants. They want store associates that actually have information about the products. They want a store where the checkout is not semi-assisted, it's completely seamless, it's completely automated. When you go up to a retailer and you give them your loyalty information, they expect that you have that loyalty information on hand. So how does AI actually help with these problems? Well, RFID sensors are basically free at this point in the market. They can tell you real-time information as to where the inventory is when you're physically in the store, and it can automatically replenish goods as you need it. If you look at the in-store kiosks, the in-store clienteling apps that the store associates are trying to put in front of people right now, they're essentially still pretty stupid systems. They don't have any AI system underneath them to actually interact with you. I use the example of walking into a home a home goods store while you're in the middle of renovation on your 9th trip on the weekend, and they still have no idea what you're actually there for. That doesn't make sense anymore. So the store of the future has to use all of these new AI techniques and embed them into the customer experience. The final area is the whole kind of new emerging brands that we talk about, or old brands that have tried to kind of reemerge as a new product line. This world used to be, I bought data from a couple of players out in the market, I would do some market research studies, and then I would use that to predict what goods I want to produce. Well, that doesn't make sense anymore. We've never had a time where more products are going into the market at a rate that's never been faster. So you can't just use that old methodology. You have to use that data, you have to use your data, you have to use the data that's available on the internet, that's publicly mineable, and all these various kind of stitching techniques to actually predict what the people want. So you as a retailer or as a brand can determine what kind of products you're going to manufacture. So now we've established that if you're a retailer, you have these normal business problems you've got to solve. Day-to-day challenges that nobody is going to give you credit for solving even. You've got all these new problems that the customer expects you to solve. And you have this kind of internal struggle. You've got these two opposing views. How do you actually balance that? Especially when we're talking about a topic that's as vague and as abstract as AI. So when we work with retailers, we usually look at any potential retailer and say, you should evaluate not just us, but any AI project on these three fundamental principles. The first one is, will it actually return a financially material investment to you as a business? If you're a publicly traded company, you have to care about that when cash flows are that tight. The second thing is, will your team actually enjoy working on this project? Will it give them access to new technologies, new experiences that they're really excited and in many cases, eager to learn about? And finally, can this project be done in 1 to 2 quarters? Now, if you're a retailer, 1 to 2 years typically sounds like a fast time frame. 1 to 2 quarters sounds absolutely absurd. But we think that's the right time frame to implement any type of AI project. And anything slower is really actually going to kill your business. And if you had to just pick one of these 3, so I'm going to further simplify it. Right now in this climate, speed is the only thing that matters. Nothing else really matters. How quickly can a project get off the ground, into production, into the hands of the users from the moment you decide you want to do it? It doesn't have to be a project that I talked about. It could be literally any type of technology or transformation project in the retail world. So I'm going to end with a couple of case studies and kind of quick kind of overviews. So I'm not going to go into the details, but this is a kind of a UK-based retailer, and they had a lot of forecasting problems. It was leading to wastage, it was leading to profitability challenges, and overall kind of customer experiences. The financial impact was great, but what was really, really important here is that we got this solution into the hands of every single buyer in less than 2 quarters. And that completely changed the business because 2 years would have meant some of these challenges were going to potentially start to actually impact the retailer's financial health. The second one is a luxury retailer in Western Europe, a beauty retailer. This was a retailer that was just about to implement all of these brand new, really exciting channels to communicate with the customer. They had the loyalty app, they had in-store kiosks, in-store clientele experiences, all of these new digital channels, but at the same time they were wrestling with the fact that on email, on SMS, their highest value customers, 20 million plus loyalty member database, their highest value customers were churning at a rate that they'd never seen before. So how do you balance that? You've put all this money into these new channels, your old channels and your customers aren't really working anymore. Well, we were able to implement the AI solution that we had in, again, less than 2 quarters, and now there's an automated system. Every single channel is relevant, and it's learning about the customer behavior in the background, and obviously the financial gains are really just the beginning because it's a self-learning system that keeps going as more and more data and more consumption happens on that. So these are just a couple of quick use cases, and very happy to be here. I want to thank you guys again. A couple of people from Rubikloud here, and I'm pretty confident that if you are a retailer or a brand or whatever, I'd love to speak with you.